You know, ladies and gentlemen, in any given moment, we have two options. In any given moment, we have two options. Either to climb forward into growth or to step back into safety. I'm glad we chose the latter about 22 years ago. My apologies, I'm glad we chose the first one, that is climbing into growth, about 22 years ago, when we started TiE Chandigarh, and about 10 years back when we started TiECon Chandigarh. So from nurturing startups to hosting one of North India's premier entrepreneurial conferences, TiE Chandigarh, of course, has come a really long way. In that honor, in order to understand the spirit of nurturing, thriving, and empowering, we bring to you a unique panel on growth story of TiE Chandigarh and TiECon Chandigarh over the years. It is now my honor to invite on the dais our respected panelists and speakers. We have Mr. Harshvir Singh, Managing Director, Drish Infotech Ltd. If our moderator, Mr. Harshvir Singh, could join us up here on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Harshvir Singh, Managing Director, Drish Infotech Ltd. As also, Mr. I.S. Paul, Chairman, Drish Infotech Ltd, Past President, TiE Chandigarh. Well, it's a conversation you certainly don't want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you growth story of TiE Chandigarh and TiECon Chandigarh over the years. We've been joined by our esteemed speaker, Mr. I.S. Paul, Chairman, Drish Infotech Ltd. Could I also request our past president, Mr. Jashinder Bir Singh, as also Managing Director, Axis Infotech Private Limited, to join us up here on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. J.B. Singh, Managing Director, Axis Infotech Private Limited. I request him to come up on the dais. And now give it up for Mr. Alok Ramsisaria, CEO, Grazitti Interactive, and also past President, TiE Chandigarh. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the growth story of TiE Chandigarh and TiECon Chandigarh over the years. I leave it up to our respected moderator now to take this conversation forward.
Many years ago, the word TiE held some mystery. For some, when they talked about, is it a management association? Is it an academic association? Is it an industry association? You know, there was a CMA, CII, industries associations, some dealer association. So why TiE? Is it really required? You know, these questions were there for people for whom TiE was brand new. It was brand new for me as well. To get TiE into our hearts, into our minds, into our city, to make it a brand, the journey started right in front of me, because in our office, the registered office of TiE was created. For 22 years, it remained there. When we shifted to our IT city office, we had to change that. The man behind the show, along with others, I would ask him to share those fresh moments at that time when the word called entrepreneurship, the word called mentorship, the word giving back, you know, there was hardly anybody who was giving back to the society or was not acknowledged at that time. So over to Mr. I.S. Paul, as we fondly call him Paul Sir, all these years, to give us an insight as to how the journey started for all of us.
Thanks, Harshvir. I take you back to year 2003. I was then chairing the Chandigarh chapter of CII. We had managed to introduce a flight from Delhi to Chandigarh, Chandigarh to Delhi. Just then, the then Governor General Jacob, was possibly the most entrepreneurial of governors that we ever had. And we thought that that was the time which was ripe for celebrating entrepreneurship. I vividly recall Mr. Satish Bagrodia, who's no longer with us. He told me that I have been to US just now, and there is this TiE people are talking about. And, you know, we hear that Kaval Rekhi, Desh Pandey, C.V. Prahlad, Pritpal Singh, all of these people have got together to have something that is doing good work there. And we need to have it because this is the land of entrepreneurs and we don't have TiE here. As luck would have it, for a meeting of CII, I went to Delhi and I ran into Mr. Saurabh Srivastava. And he said, look, we are doing good work in TiE Delhi. Why don't you in Chandigarh start something, some chapter? So I said, we will talk amongst ourselves and then we will let you know as to whether we can or not. I came back, I reported to Mr. Satish Bagrodia, and he said, if you want to do something regarding TiE here, then Mr. Chandramohan, you know, you might recall he was the father of Swaraj Tractor. Mr. Chandramohan would also join. So then three of us met and we said, well, we start with a TiE chapter. And that was to promote the entrepreneurial ecosystem in this place. You see, we have great entrepreneurial spirit, but this place did not have the necessary tools to channelize that entrepreneurial spirit. People wanted to know. People wanted to be guided. People wanted to be informed. What is it that I can do to expand my new venture? What is it that I can do to recruit people? Alok Ramsisaria is expanding. How is it that I can expand? How is it that I can write a business plan? How is it that I can pitch? How is it that I can raise funds? How is it that I can update my technology? How is it that I can go to somebody who already is in the know of these things and ask him, boss, am I doing right? So we needed that kind of an ecosystem, and that is what we wanted to have. So the chapter was therefore necessary, and we had a core group of 7 people at that time. I'm talking about 2003. And those 7 people, unfortunately, 2 are not with us anymore. Mr. Satish Bagrodia, Mr. Chandramohan, and then we were, all this group consisted of was Pratap Agarwal, Alok Ramsisaria, Gurmeet Chawla, Ajay Tiwari, and yours truly. So these 7 people were there, and this core group started, and Gurmeet Chawla today sent me our initial memorandum that we had signed then. So इकट्ठे होने की बात थी, फिर कारवां बनता गया. I remember we would meet in a Roma hotel, and each one of us would pick up the tab for that particular one meeting. It carried on for a couple of years. I also remember that Mr. Chandramohan served for 2 years as president. I served for 3 years as the president. Ajay Tiwari did the heavy lifting and was secretary for the chapter for 4 years. That was the kind of commitment that was required when the chapter is new. And thereafter, 14 total presidents have left their imprint of initiative, of knowledge, of enterprise, of experience. And that is what you see today in the TiE chapter, which is 400 plus members today. 400 plus members today. You see, we had older organizations that people would look up to. Today, we have more membership than CII and PhD put together. We have more membership than all the 11, 12 chapters of Rotary put together. And we haven't stopped. We are growing. And we will grow. Because our motives are different. You see, I was following the Oscars last Sunday, and Bob Dylan's song was featuring these lines that your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new road if you cannot lend your hand because the times are changing. We in 2003 felt the need for that change. We changed. The new road was the promotion and the entrepreneurship. And we were trying to solve the problem. We were trying to solve the problem for the entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs, and those people who had started but were, looking for answers to some of their questions. Because they had the problem of lack of knowledge, of information, of guidance, of the wanting to be mentored by leaders, those they would be able to look up to and be inspired by. It's not been an easy journey, and we are not finished, yes. But I must say that it was the teams and the presidents who brought this club to the stage that it is today.
Thank you, sir. I know Alok was part of JB's team when JB took over as president. So JB, you took over an organization where an event of this scale had never been probably done before. Of course, Alok did it even in greater style. Every year the partnerships and alliances would change. It was a person-driven organization or a visitor-driven event that was happening. These two gentlemen, set all the SOPs, the processes. They gave a corporate look to the whole stuff. JB, what were the 1 or 2 major challenges you faced before we asked the same question to Alok, and how did you streamline that?
I remember 2015 when we were having the AGM in Hotel Shivalik View. we were just finished the EGM and we were discussing, let's have a TiECon. Somebody said TiECon in Chandigarh, 50 bande nahi aane. That was the first reaction. Then we discussed, Paul Sahab was there, I remember. If 200 banda aa gaya, then it would be a success. We decided, let's go about organizing it. I was the vice president at that time, Ajay was the president. We decided we'll hold it this time, whatever is the cost, we'll work out. When we finally did the first TiECon in Hotel Lalit, the gathering was 600 people who had attended. Next year, when I took over as the president, there was demonetization in November 2016. If TiECon 2 would not have happened, TiECon 10 would not have seen the light of the day. We were very scared, we had no money, then we tried what to do. We reached STPI, we requested PTU, we requested Punjab government, we requested Startup India, institutions we are talking about, NSIC. They pitched in, they helped us, they gave us some base where we could conduct the TiECon, and we collected 91 lakhs in 2016-17 TiECon, which was the biggest ever and first time in Hotel Hayat, that point of time. And when I left, we had grown the membership from 180 to 223, if my figures are not wrong. At the same time, Sir had, as he said, he served for 3 years. Chandra Mohan ji served at 2 years. Mr. Puneet served for 4 years. There was a time when there was some problem in our operations. There was a committee of 3 people, me, Alok and Ajay, who ran the show for 2 years before Ajay was elevated as president. So we decided it is not going to work like that. So we made the clear thing that the term of the executive led by the president will be 1 year only. So you will see every year new face, new energy, new light, and TiECon 10 has reached. It is all because everybody has contributed, and this is the best platform with, I would say, positive energy, and everybody is giving selflessly. You see the help desk, we have a help net, whatever we call in TiE Chandigarh, and you just put a problem, you will find 10 solutions to that problem. Somebody has already done it, they will pitch in without any obligation. What is going to happen? That's the biggest thing we have done for TiE Chandigarh, and we are proud of it. Thank you, Harshvir.
And then Alok took it on to another level. I know he sticks to processes like anything. I even remember, one tip from one of his experienced talk, that you trust but verify. So Alok, I know when I was the secretary, we didn't have any secretariat. My president told me that I have to travel a lot, so you will be acting president most of the time. I didn't realize that I would be a driver, PN, office boy, sales guy, whatnot, By the end of that term, we did have a executive director, almost half time. But setting an organization in place, setting the processes, make it organization driven rather than person driven. I think these two gentlemen did a lot of effort. Alok.
Thank you. So as Paul sir mentioned, I was one of the first signatories. I used to be a TiE Delhi member before the idea of TiE Chandigarh came around, and I was blown away by the amount of selfless conversations that TiE has always represented. So when the chance came to start TiE Chandigarh, I was very happy to jump on, and we were very ably led by Mr. Chandra Mohan. The great thing about TiE is what you can take away from it. So I remember the same Shivalik View conversation that JB sir was talking about. Mr. Chandra Mohan was an old family friend. So कहते काका किन्ने बंदे हो गए तेरे को? मैं सर 5 बंदे. तेने कहा शर्म नहीं आई तेरे? That was his style, right? He would always force you to think big. In his own earthy style. He says, you with all your this thing, what are you talking about? You need to be at least 10 times bigger or 100 times bigger. Think big. So, I've taken that to heart, and I think that's one thing I tell everybody and every president who comes in. You must think big. don't think about what happened last year. Don't look back, look forward. So JB forgot to mention that it was not just demonetization. JB had a heart attack in the middle of his presidency. And like every other TiE, the president runs the organization. So despite all of that happening, we pulled off what was the most amazing TiECon at that year. So it was a big benchmark for us to beat, sort of exceed in the following year. So that year I think we did about the 1 crore plus in sponsorships, and TiE Delhi used to do about 3 crores. Okay, so we were probably the highest earning chapter in the country after TiE Delhi. You have to remember TiE Bangalore and Mumbai and Chennai had started. We were one of 16 chapters. But we always have thought big. The other thing we realized in the early years was this, the problem that happens, and it's an old Tennyson quote. He says, the old order changeth, yielding place to new, lest one good custom corrupt the world. And unfortunately, this is what we had to endure because we allowed one person to run as the organization for too long. So one of the first things that we did when JB and I is that let's put in a succession plan for at least the next 5 years. And I think this goes back to even all of our organizations. One of the things that people think is that we are going to live infinite lives. And it goes back to that old story. So we put together a succession plan, something I encourage all of you to do, even in your businesses. A lot of us tend to ignore that. And that succession plan, if things got out of hand, then we would step in. There was once a movement that, hey, we know better. Why should we give unhindered authority to the TiE president? Because we've been so successful. And I have actively pushed back and saying that the president is an independent, successful entrepreneur. There is no point in trying to provide guidance or any kind of control, right? He has his own reputation and his own, swag, if you will, to live up to. And we've been lucky so far that wherever our presidents have come in, they've taken us to bigger heights. They faced challenges. We went virtual with, no, we didn't go virtual actually. We never went virtual, even during Corona, which was pretty amazing. One episode we did virtually, but yeah. But even then, it was a bigger event than the year previous. So every year we've gone on from strength to strength, and it is primarily because every person who's part of the executive, who's part of the charter group, has given selflessly. And वो खरबूजे को देख के खरबूजा रंग बदलता है. एक जना अच्छे से काम selflessly काम करता है तो दूसरा भी वैसे ही करता है. So I'm very happy that the culture that we have created in the organization has sustained and grown. And I think there are lessons that one can learn from how TiE has run for each one of our businesses in entrepreneurship, that grow successful businesses requires you to give up authority, power, control, plan, put in processes, make sure things scale. So I'm very glad today that we are standing at the 10th edition of TiECon. My congratulations to the current leadership, SK and Puneet, Ritika and all the people. We are scaling mountains, if you will, globally. Mahavir has been an important part of our journey. He has known us from the beginning and has been there anytime we call him. Jaipur to Chandigarh the direct flight hai, flight nahi tha, train hai to apni gadi leke aa janga. So we are again an example of selfless giving for encouraging us. And I cannot tell you how much it means when somebody like Mahavir comes and stands behind you and says, we are there to help you, or to advise you, to guide you. And what he's done in TiE Rajasthan and the way they've set up TiE Rajasthan is an inspiration to all of us. And I'm so glad to welcome so many of you from other TiE chapters. I think our family has grown. So welcome to Chandigarh. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Harshvir, for giving me this opportunity to talk.
If there's one person who has been involved right from the start, for any good news, for any hiccups, we have all turned to him for any issue in TiE or any, any achievement, any milestone. It has been Paul sir. So before we end the session and end the day probably, any takeaways, any pearls of wisdom for all of us?
I would mention two things. I was telling Mr. Pritipal Singh that one thing, we have our panch stamb bolte hain, our 5 pillars. And we talk about giving, mentoring, education, networking. If you ask me, what I have gained the most from TiE is peer learning. We've learned from one another. We have learned from one another. It is okay to say, well, we have helped a person who was very new to the ecosystem. He had started just 3 years back, and we have helped him. I can tell you, I was 25 years in business. And the help that I got, the learning that I had from interacting with gents like them, or Pratap, or Ajay, that was enormous. So I would suggest, all of you from TiE are here, and I'm sure there are some TiE chapters being represented here. For me, what we need to promote is peer learning. We learn from one another, and we do not underline that enough. At least I did. I speak for myself. The second thing for TiE Chandigarh, our ultimate ambition, SK, Puneet, and for others to follow them, should be now a building of our own. We must have SK. We lay the foundations of a building of our own. And I think it will not happen overnight. It's expensive. But if we start now, maybe 5, 6, 7 years from now, this will be a reality. This is an idea which is very dear to the heart of Alok also. Alok, would you like to add to this?
I think having a permanent place is definitely a sign of coming. It's an expensive proposition.
You were talking about it, I remember, in last meeting, I heard that.
No, I completely subscribe to that view. I think in the city, it would help us to not only become a base for TiE University, but for us to also promote entrepreneurship as a way of life, and to promote that in our city, this is let me go back a little bit, and maybe I can answer that with that context. Chandigarh, despite our sleepy picture, is the hotbed of entrepreneurship. People don't realize that. Whether you talk about Punjab Tractors, which was innovation in the government sector in India for the first time, whether you talk about the first medical equipment manufacturing company in the country, the first telecom software outsourcing, it all started here. How many of you may remember the first semiconductor manufacturing also started here. So we've been with the hotbed of entrepreneurship. So it's only right that we set up a building which is a symbol of how entrepreneurship has flourished, or how entrepreneurs from this region have done well. So I would completely agree with you, sir.
Right. How is it, SK, how is it that we're going to start formalizing? Let's start talking about it. We started talking about TiE in 2003, okay? We've come of age now, but it's 22 years, right? Let us start some kind of a formal process in which we push it a few steps ahead every year. I don't know whether it is a separate corpus. I do not know whether we ask somebody, you were talking about, JB, taking help of the organizations in STPI and Punjab government and all that. You missed out one thing. The help that we gave ourselves. There were willing people within TiE who would contribute generously. And that is how TiECons were also be successful, because there were very willing members who would contribute also. So what I'm saying is, how is it that this idea is to be taken forward? Let's not just say it. Let us think about it as to how we are going to take it forward. I see some, sorry, am I permitted to another 3-4 minutes?
Certainly.
Okay. I see some younger people here. I was extremely pleased in the last TiECon to hear Major D.P. Singh. It was an experience. Major D.P. Singh was a Kargil war hero. He was declared dead. He still carries 69 splinters in his body. He is a multiple amputee. His ears don't work. He has the beginning of Parkinson, and his normal weight, he's not a very tall person, his normal weight was 58 kgs. And when he was done with his multiple operations, he was 28 kgs. And yet, he's a pilot, he is so active, and a blade runner, marathon runner, and I will only repeat some of the things that he said. He said you could have the skill, you could have the will, you could have the determination, but if you do not have the right attitude, nothing can happen. So you need to inculcate the attitude of winning. I have to do this. Chances are that you will succeed. You will fail also. But chances are that you would succeed. Without right attitude, nothing is going to work. He took the example of a ping pong ball. He says the harder you strike that ping pong ball, the higher it bounces. My own experience in this past 1 year, I would add a line or two. For those people who have had successes and who get discouraged by failures, please have faith in yourself and have faith in him. If you have faith in yourself and the faith in him, chances are that you will succeed again. Don't call it quits. Your persistence, your innovation, your differentiation, and your right attitude should pull you through. Please realize that 500,000 people will not wake up tomorrow morning. 500,000 people would not wake up tomorrow morning. If you have woken up next morning, thank him, because he has a plan for you. Believe that. And then you will be able to surmount the hurdles. I will quote Iqbal. He said, "Jahan mein ahle iman surte khurshid jeete." Ahle iman is faith, is belief, believe super faith, जहाँ में अहले ईमान सूरत खुर्शीद जीते हैं, खुर्शीद is sun. Those people who have the faith, who had the belief, they are like the sun. They are victorious. They would always be victorious. Idhar डूबे, like the sun. इधर डूबे, उधर निकले, उधर डूबे, इधर निकले. So, it is that faith, that super ahle iman, which is going to carry you through. Have it in yourself, have it in God. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, TiE. Thank you, TiECon. With that, we end the session, ma'am.
Many thanks, sir, for taking the cues of time. And because we ended with some shairi, I'd like to quote some as well. This one is a favorite by Sahir Ludhianvi, which goes something like this, कि अब एक रात अगर कम जिए तो कम ही सही, अब एक रात अगर कम जिए तो कम ही सही, यही बहुत है कि हम मशालें जला कर जिए. With that, I would like to thank our esteemed panel. And to honor them, could I please invite on the dais Mr. S.K. Arora, Mr. Brahm Alreja, as also Mr. Murli Bukapatnam. Ladies and gentlemen, first up, please give it up for Mr. I.S. Paul, Chairman, Drish Infotech Ltd, as also past President, TiE Chandigarh. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. I.S. Paul, Chairman, Drish Infotech Ltd, past President, TiE Chandigarh. As also Mr. J.B. Singh, Managing Director, Axis Infotech Private Limited, and past President, TiE Chandigarh. Well, when we freeze the moment, we also freeze the emotions that we feel within that frame, so now calls for just that. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. J.B. Singh, Managing Director, Axis Infotech Private Limited, and past President, TiE Chandigarh. And Mr. Alok Ramsisaria, CEO, Grazitti Interactive, also past President, TiE Chandigarh. And for tying this splendid conversation together, please give it up for our moderator, Mr. Harshvir Singh, Managing Director, Drish Infotech Ltd. Well, that was the story of TiE Chandigarh and TiECon Chandigarh over the years. Well, could I just request everybody to quickly close in for a group picture?
Who said go ahead. And we have the honor of having him after 22 years at Chandigarh. And you see, it is these old supports and relationships which are so crucial. And that is why role of Mr. Mahavir Sharma and his contributions and help cannot be overemphasized. Thank you, Mark.
Add one thing, that I did not anticipate to live that long to see this place flourished as much. When this gentleman called me. I was not thinking coming here, but I was coming anyway. I come every winter to just spend our time in old age. And I actually changed my plans, return flight, by a couple of days to attend this conference. And I think really not that I did any favor or something like that. This is in our genes when we had the TiECon or the TiE. We started the TiE. Whole idea was to give, not to take. Give, give, give. And if you can do something for somebody else, that's phenomenal. I basically vouch great. If you guys can have a building over here, I will say it will be a major, major project. Make a plan, 10 years plan. It's not going to happen in 2 years. Somebody ought to make a plan. That in 10 years, we need to have some house of ours. And if we don't do that, it is not going to happen. Because we went through the similar thing in the major TiE in Silicon Valley, and it took us quite a few years. $1 million building went 2 million, 2 million went 4 million, 4 went 20 million. You know, this will keep on going on, but you have to make a plan. Once again, have a wonderful one, and I think it's a great TiECon. I really was not anticipating that, but I think these guys have done an absolutely phenomenal job. Congratulations to you all, and all the presidents here. Okay?
Sir, we would do it. We don't have the money of Silicon Valley, right? But we still would get a building within 10 years, and we'll call you then, sir.
Well, you know what they say, right? There are far greater things ahead than any that we leave behind. But sometimes we've just got to look back to see how far we've come. I guess this is one of those moments. And as is customary, freezing the moment is important.